What's up again, you filthy casuals? For those of you listening on iTunes later, you have no idea what calamity has just beset us. But for everybody else, we're terribly sorry we went away. We're back and we'll never leave you again. I'm RangerDave Gaming, one of the hosts. This is a podcast all about PC games. I'm joined by Dave, James, and Joel. Say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
All right, let's move on. We're just going to dive right back in there. Okay, so we're not... Joel, I'm sorry, I'm going to put my foot down. We're not starting the podcast off with console news. We let you have your little segment called Joel's Fantasyland, but we're not doing that first. We're going to do some PC news first, okay?
Joel's Fantasyland?
Yeah, the console news about how
I thought we were actually going to just call it Joel Can't Count to 90 Seconds with Joel.
But he usually brings up good topics, and we end up making it go longer than that, so I feel like we can't put all the blame on Joel.
True.
All right.
You can try.
All right, so we're going to just jump down the list a little bit to Titanfall, a game everyone's forgotten about.
Joel, did you hear about this update right here that's coming up?
No.
It's called Game Update 6. Very creative title, guys. Very creative.
Sounds like Windows. Windows 8.
Oh, yeah, it'd be better if we called it Windows Canary, Windows Barn Swallow. Which one's better, Canary or Barn Swallow?
It's better than going from
what do you think?
Windows
No one
XP,
knows.
Windows Vista, then Windows 7. It's just
then they went to
dumb.
Windows 8, and they're going to come out with Windows 9. They fixed it. Meanwhile, whatever they call it, Apple...
OS X 10.9.
Apple
10.
French
9.
Polynesia is like... it's coming out, and then they've got
Apple Polynesia.
Apple Bald Puma, and then I mean, why don't they just come out with OS X 11? Would that kill them? There's been like 30 versions of iOS since OS X came out.
What I was gonna say is, Joel's gonna be super excited about this update because it involves the game mode that he's been asking for since launch.
Pilot Skirmish.
They're actually making it. Yep.
Pilot
no
Skirmish.
Titans, no AI.
It's Titanfall with no Titans and no AI, so it's Call of
Oh,
Duty.
sweet!
It's Call of Duty with jumpsuits.
There
so
it
it's
is.
Black Ops 2.
Dude, it's like the closest you guys have to Halo.
Who's us guys?
PC people?
Not like
You mean
Don't have Halo.
You mean besides Halo itself?
And Halo 2.
Like, I'm saying you guys don't have Halo. You guys don't...
We haven't had Halo recently.
Outside of Halo and Halo 2, you mean?
Oh shoot, we
Yeah.
forgot to make our list of PC exclusive games, didn't we, Dave?
We have an old list that Joel
We're
and I
not-
argued
we'll
about
do-
a few
we'll
months
do
back.
it later. Another one.
Didn't it start with DayZ?
It probably would have.
Yeah,
Didn't it start with DayZ
aw.
when it
But
was
you
made?
know, DayZ's not on the PS4 yet. They may never finish it. Honestly, that's a very real possibility.
Yeah. They not, may
I mean,
not
it's really
finish it
not
for
so much on the PC either.
They're gonna have to lock some features down before they release on the PC. For not being on the PC, I've put 200 hours of something into it.
No, this
Just
is
saying.
exciting though about the game mode. Only because I love the gun control in it. It's really, really well made.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would just be fun to just not have to worry about Titans and stuff. Because I love games like Counter-Strike and things like that where it's just like everyone has kind of similar weapons and it's just skill versus skill. It's no like Battlefield. It's kind of like a lot of it is kind of cheating when you have jets and stuff. Because if you jump listen to that. If you jump into a regular team and you have one guy who's just absolutely glorious on a jet and everyone else like never uses jets. I mean, it's not cheating, but it's like it's hardly much of a match, because it's like if no
It's
one
unbalanced,
like,
but
it's super
the correct
unbalanced,
counter to that is another good jet pilot.
exactly, but that just doesn't usually
Or
happen.
teamwork,
Yeah.
which also does not ever happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Teamwork in a Battlefield game.
Because the game is just too big.
Is
Like it
teamwork
just
where
doesn't work
multiple
for
people
this kind of generation.
try to they team up to steal the chopper and fly it into the side of the mountain, or is it teamwork where you just screw around seeing if you can jump a jet ski across the map in the middle of a competitive match?
Teamwork is where you get on to film your YouTube trolls and lols video, and your team loses because you're C4ing jet skis off the map. That's what teamwork is.
Marked for Death is now a permanent game mode. I honestly thought it was a permanent game mode. I didn't realize this was like Wendy's, where like they bring out a sandwich for a limited period of time.
It's a cool
Wendy's,
idea.
No, McDonald's is the worst. The McRib. I heard
Isn't it every year? Like it comes out every year.
I've eaten at McDonald's like 3 times my whole life. I'm not sure.
The land of ogres do not have McDonald's. Big villagers.
All right. They've
I
added
was gonna
mode.
say, I like the concept of like rotating different game modes to try them out, but isn't
Just add them.
developing
Add them as a
and making like a UI and programming and doing all this work for a game mode, a lot of work to just possibly toss it aside in 30 days, that seems weird to me.
The answer is yes, Dave. That is a lot of work to toss aside. Why do they do it? Who knows? Also, modes, who knows why they do it? They've added modes for colorblind Titan pilots. 3 colorblind options. I'm going to read them. Protanopia, Deuteranopia, and Tritanopia have been added. Now, I don't want to sound insensitive to people who are colorblind. I have colorblind people in my family. The struggle is real. But if you had a colorblind person, would you ever let them pilot a Titan? I'd be like, I'm sorry, if you're not in perfect health, you don't get to do it. You don't get to control the giant robot. Seriously. I mean, let's say with jet pilots. Oh, you want to be a jet pilot, but like you know, I don't know, you have sleep arrhythmia or like you black out sometimes.
Perfect health, perfect vision to fly a jet. Like,
yeah, it's like, but we're gonna give him a Titan. What's worse, a jet or a Titan? Think what a Titan would do if you're just rampaging through a town, like punching through buildings.
My arms are cannons.
I'm sorry, guys, my heart burns real bad right now. Yeah, so I mean, but obviously, they just
is that a common thing for people with color blindness?
I don't know. I'm just
getting
saying,
bad heartburn.
I'm just saying,
like,
any physical deformity, you'd think they'd be like, "Hey, man, you can turn wrenches in the garage. We don't let you fly it."
You go to Wendy's and you eat the chili. It's like, oh yeah,
I'm not gonna go to war later. Well, yeah, if you brought your Titan to Wendy's, if your platoon took a stop at Wendy's before war, but I want a Frosty. I want to dip my fries in it. I might die today. Let me dip my fries in a Frosty.
Isn't anybody susceptible to heartburn?
I mean, I guess some people get it worse than others.
Maybe we shouldn't have Titans at all.
Well, that's another discussion. I think it's mostly diet related. Like, if anybody eats the right or the wrong foods, I guess if you look at it that way, anyone can get heartburn. But like vegans don't really get heartburn a lot. Real vegans, not like ho-ho and Twinkie vegans. Okay, so anyway.
Pro tip, actually, to avoid heartburn, simply avoid those $1 Michelina microwave meals, and you'll feel a lot better.
Michelina? What is Michelina?
The $1 microwave meals?
I had Banquet, okay? When I was in college, we had $1 Banquet meals. I went to Walmart, and I saw them, and I was like, this is fantastic. A whole meal for $1? Gave about $8 of food away. Well,
I ate Michelinas for 3 years while I was a
Are
student.
you saying you threw up?
how are you not dead?
I mean, don't read the back. The chicken on the fettuccine alfredo, it's actual perfect little cubes, but it's not like actual chicken. It's like the reprocessed chicken, so it has a texture of like a sink sponge.
Oh man.
Every meal was heartburn. Every
Why?
single,
But why'd you eat them, though?
and they cost $1.
Were you that poor?
I was making
Don't answer that.
$5.15 an hour while going to college.
That's not great. Was that minimum wage?
That was minimum wage when I started. Yeah.
Really? $5? I thought they knocked it up to $7. Well, I mean, not that that's that great either, but
Yeah.
So
a
you're
year and a
making,
half
if you
after I
worked full
started.
time, you were making $11,000 a year. Fantastic.
But I wasn't working full time.
You
because I
were
was going to
full-time?
school.
Yeah.
Were you student worker?
Student worker.
It's even worse because you can only make so much a year.
You're
Yeah.
like a slave, but if you leave, they still charge you money.
If you worked
there's
too
a
much, yeah, if you worked too much, like HR would call your boss, and then your boss would yell at you.
America, America. Okay.
I actually had a student worker job when I was in college. I worked in the Lost and Found, which was just this little room that I get to watch TV all day.
Dude, you worked in that little room?
Yes.
I remember.
There was a pathetically small room at that college for
so
Lost and Found.
small.
But it was still amazing because there was a TV and a DVD player in there.
Was it someone else's TV and DVD player?
I don't know, I'm sure. I don't know how you lose that.
James, you're just like you're like looting things.
Actually,
I'm gonna.
oh, my keychains. Do I send my keychain?
We're about to hear about some fireable offenses here.
No, it was the end of the year. At the end of the year, it was all fair game. I had
Oh,
I
okay.
have a U2 keychain from the Lost and Found at Liberty.
A U2? Hey, oh,
U2,
hey.
sorry.
Hey, mister, we don't say names of things.
Oh, heaven forbid.
Redacted. Redacted.
I was
that's
gonna
how that
say,
works.
James.
Yeah,
I
it was a
actually
U2
playing-
pop tour.
I was quite impressed by the lost and found. This is going to date myself a little bit, but my first freshman year of college, I had a giant binder full of CDs still, and I would carry it around and listen to my CD player still, my freshman year. And I left it in one of the buildings one day, and 2 days later, someone turned in the entire binder full of CDs to lost and found.
After they ripped them all.
They saw your music and was like, well, I should probably just return this to this guy. I don't want any of it.
I was actually curious. I'm like, did this just scare them?
He seems like the type of guy, he cares about this a little too much. Let's go ahead and give this back.
He's got quite a few death metal bands in here. It's a little dark.
So back to Titanfall. Other updates. There's an ultra rare burn card called Gambling is for Winners that gives you the ability to use your entire deck from inside a match. But it's super rare. There's also black market daily deals, which you can buy individual burn cards. And then you can use the burn card autofill, so it automatically fills empty burn card slots for you. And what I think is a really cool thing is, if late to the game, a new feature where if you join a match that's more than halfway over, losses will not be counted against your record. But if you win, you will get that. So... then there's more optimizations. They say the matchmaking's a lot better, which I guess I'll hop in and try it and see if that's really true. And then there's just a bunch of little bug fixes and stuff. But that's just them. They're making lots of changes that the community's requesting. I'm just worried that not enough of the community's still there. Yeah, but if the community's not still there, does it matter?
I think the big nail in the coffin, like a few months ago, was the matchmaking changes. Everything was just so broken that it was difficult to find an enjoyable game. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people that were playing Titanfall almost nonstop just dropped it almost instantly. Mm-hmm. Same for us, even. Like, we were still playing pretty heavily up until midsummer.
Yeah. All right, next news item. Metro Redux. Joel, why don't you take us through whatever lies and slander you have queued up?
I should have had Yako in here because he's been playing it for like...
This is from Eurogamer, or the Digital Foundry. I don't know if you guys ever look up the digital. I love reading stuff like that just because it's interesting. I like knowing how developers, make things work on consoles or whatever. But apparently, this was like one of the first interviews that that they've gone like on the record. Because a lot of companies don't like to say, and I can understand if I was even developing a game, having to actually give a public statement saying, "Oh yeah, the PS4 does work better. It's easier to develop on," because you want to still win over the people that are buying it on Xbox One or PC. You know what I mean? You say all that stuff, and for the people that don't understand anything, they go, "Oh, what? It's not going to be good on Xbox One?" I'm like, no, it's going to still run fine. Yeah, it's a little low resolution, but whatever. But anyways, they just talked about what it was like porting, their game that came out about a year ago onto the new systems and with the new updated visuals and stuff. And I just thought it was interesting because this is what I thought. Couple years, or like even like a last year and a half ago, I think on the podcast, I was saying how developers can really push the limit on consoles for that kind of system, and the guy went on the record saying, yeah, the consoles for the $400 PS4 is twice as powerful as a PC of the same spec. And I was saying, that's why I think, like, if you're gonna get a PC for gaming, definitely go all out. Like I mean, I've been doing it long enough that if you get a crappy PC and you just go low budget, it goes out of style really quickly. Like it really does. It just doesn't hold up because PC's always being pushed to the next level every freaking month or every 6 months. That really games that you want to play at top of the line or even mid range, it just goes back so quickly. And so even when you guys were saying, oh, I can build one for $400, like it's gonna be a decent PC.
Dave,
but
do you have the news story ready that I hope you have ready? No, you don't. Okay, keep going, Joel. Sorry.
I'm just saying it's not going to last as long as a PS4 is with the same type of visuals. The same, in 10 years or in 6 years, that $400 computer that you just bought is not going to last the same way as a PS4 does because they have the same tech and everything. So it's not bashing PCs because the thing is, as soon as you buy a PC, it's already outdated. Like you're never like ahead of the curve on PCs ever. You're just at the top of the line for a few months, and then you're already out of,
less than that even in some cases.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm all for PCs getting the high level stuff. I'm just saying for the bang for your buck, it's not $400 to have a PS4 type quality, for your computer that's going to be running everything about the same.
Right, but that's not really true, Joel. the difference with a PC is you can have the mid-level experience with mid-level hardware for years. The top of the line experience is what keeps getting pushed forward. On a console, you never get the top of the line experience. You're getting a mid-range experience for years, and they can do that consistently. PCs can do the exact same thing. It's when people want to have the absolute best that they have to keep upgrading, and that's what's so expensive. You can play with graphics similar to a console for years on low-end hardware.
No, I'm just saying that's definitely not true. That's 100% not true.
Nope, it definitely is true.
Heck no.
No, I've got friends who have kept like Chris on the podcast. He had an 8800 GT up until 2012 and was still playing like all modern games on very high
running
settings.
At 60 FPS, V-synced.
It depended on the game.
You know, I mean, like
it
certain
depends on
games.
the game.
You know, I was like,
yeah.
no, I don't.
I mean, it doesn't
no.
matter. It doesn't matter what GPU you had when Watch Dogs came out. No one could run it at 60 FPS, consoles or PC, because the game was a broken piece of crap. But if a game is optimized enough that anyone can run it at 60 FPS, no, I don't remember. Like, he was definitely not running on the highest settings, but he was running like medium to medium, high to high on new games. It's definitely possible.
So I'm saying, if you bought a $400 PC right now,
if you bought
that wouldn't
it's
fit in even.
It's going to last for 6 years with a PS4 and hold its own with a PS4.
Well,
it's not going to do that. It's impossible.
Can you do it for that money? Yes. Well,
no, dude.
hold
How?
on.
Like, I just want to. How can
You couldn't get the
beat that?
8800 with when it came out.
Not when it came out.
with
not when it
hardware.
came out. No, that's the thing. Is if you want to buy the brand new stuff when it comes out, which PS4s and Xboxes aren't. They are several-year-old technology that's been repackaged into it. So if you buy behind the curve, if you buy several-year-old stuff, I guarantee you can get more graphics horsepower out of a PC for the same price. I have an example. Xiaoming Z, which is a Chinese computer company, they've made a Steam machine that's $300. And hold on, Firefox is freezing, so it's making it hard to scroll down. It has an R9 270X with 2 gigs of RAM, which is far and away better than the Xbox One's GPU, which is equivalent to a 7770. And the PS4's GPU is closer to a 7870. The R9 270X is 40% faster than either of those. When it comes to memory, and then 20% more powerful when it comes to just raw pixel computations. It has the same amount of RAM. It includes the Steam OS, which you do save on the licensing cost versus Windows. But no, it's $300, and it is technically more powerful.
Yeah, technically, but are they optimized?
It has to be 2 times
Are they
faster.
optimizing for that at this point?
For a Steam machine? I mean, I don't know.
When new games come out,
Steam OS hasn't officially been released yet. So on the beta side of it, supposedly it's going really well. I guess we don't know for sure till it comes out. What I'm trying to say is people are selling hardware that's more powerful. I mean, you can sell the PS4. It doesn't matter how powerful that is. Like when Watch Dogs came out, it doesn't matter how powerful the PS4 is. It ran like crap because the game was crap. So the point I'm trying to make is you can buy more powerful hardware for the same amount of money. Whether the software will take use of it, I mean, we know that's a complete coin toss.
Now, I never said about how powerful the system is. I'm saying like the PS4 is twice as powerful. So if you paid $400, you're going to have to spend
twice
more
as
than
powerful
that.
as what?
The computer's going to have to be twice as powerful as the PS4 for the same price to do the same as a PS4 is.
Do you have hard evidence to back that up?
That's what this article guy was saying.
That's what this dude said from this one game company.
No, I've heard it many times. Just look up about working on a console. It's always about 2 times as powerful because you're working in a very rigid environment. It's the same reason why using an iPhone. They said a lot of Android developers. Android's a little bit more frustrating because there are so many different levels of Android phones.
They can optimize the game for that.
You are correct about the optimization, but no, I have not seen any hard evidence. I've seen people talk back and forth about anything, just like we're doing now. But no, I have not seen any evidence that you have to spend double what you do on a console to get the same graphics horsepower.
Yeah, read these articles and look it up.
Keep in mind, Joel, that you're also not targeting what would be the PC equivalent of ultra settings. In any case, this version of Metro is running at 912p, locked at 30 FPS.
Like the one on PS4 is 60 FPS, and it's at 60 FPS.
Yeah, but
that's pretty impressive.
But it's not 1080, is it? It's upscaled.
No, it's 1080.
Is it upscaled? Well, you can render at 1080.
No, the PS4 is 1080.
Which one are you reading? This 912?
The Xbox One is the 912 one.
Gotcha.
Okay, but still, they're rendering at 912, outputting at 1080.
That's at high. That's really good. My computer right now, because I got my latest thing. I was running Metro last night. I couldn't get 60 FPS.
But you were running at much higher detail settings.
I was running at high. I couldn't get ultra.
Then it must have been right when it first came out or something. Your GPU is powerful enough to do a good job at that game, unless it was
No, I couldn't.
early
I mean,
release.
I was running at 1080p too because I didn't have the newest monitor yet.
Actually, Joel, in this article too, they're talking about DirectX, and what a big advantage for consoles is more direct access on the software side
That
to
is
the
very true.
hardware.
Which supposedly is going to be a big benefit of SteamOS too.
And
Hopefully.
DirectX 12. They're actually
Yes.
talking here. This is kind of cool. Talking about how in DirectX 11, the API DirectX is wanting to kind of put its like claws into every part of the game rendering process, whereas they're saying for DirectX 12, they're looking at a pipeline where it's very hands off, giving the developer very I'm not describing this well, but a lot more control and a lot less overhead. So we might see even closer to console-like specifications as far as access to the hardware goes on upcoming DirectX 12
which is the whole
games.
idea of
That would be
SteamOS.
awesome because
That's the whole idea of SteamOS is it's a PC for gaming, but without the downfalls
Yeah.
of PC gaming, which is Windows.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like the direct access to it. So I
Yeah.
guess I'm only saying is if you bought a PS4 for $400, that's going to go much farther distance-wise than a $400 computer is for 5 years. You can't change it. I'm not talking about upgrading.
I
It's
do
one
disagree. I disagree with you, but
I
we
just
have
don't.
to agree to disagree on it.
I know, but I guess it blows my mind that like I mean computer stuff. I
Yes,
feel
that's
like
why
you
I'm
actually-
saying that.
You would not be happy with a $400 computer.
I wouldn't be happy with a
In
$400
5
computer, but I
years,
wouldn't be happy
5
with the graphics
years
performance of a
playing the next
PS4.
type of-
You had a PS3 and you were happy with it.
No, I wasn't. I thought it looked like garbage pretty much the entire time I owned it after I built a PC. Before I had a PC, I was like, yeah, this looks fine. I haven't gamed on a PC in like 10 years. I built a PC and I was like, oh, this looks like garbage.
And Joel, you keep saying it'd be much further that a PS4 could go. Maybe a little further. I don't think much is at all close to the truth. You get a little bit of a longer life sticking
You're
to those
saying your
lower
$400
settings.
computer from at the time the PS4 came out. I'm not talking about buying a $400 computer next year because obviously that's
Right,
going to be
right.
go much further. At the time it comes out, or around
Well,
the time, right?
and I'm talking about building.
You're going to be able to
building
play
a $400
Battlefield
computer.
5 on a $400 computer in 5 years, or Battlefield 6.
Especially in this generation, looking back at the 360 and the PS3, when that hardware came out, it was sold at such a loss. It was actually ahead of the curve, video-wise, of PCs in what was it 2004, right? Is that the correct year for the?
No, 2005 for the 360, 2006 for the PS3.
There it is. Yeah, thanks. So they were actually ahead of the curve, but this generation is a different kind of scenario. This time, the hardware is actually behind current gen PC hardware. There's much more of a gap, so it's a very weird situation for consoles to be in compared to the last gen.
Yeah, that's
I don't
true.
know,
But the only
they
thing-
were pretty underpowered last time compared to PCs. I mean, PCs have become a lot more popular, the PC gaming, but
Well,
even then, I mean, look at the RAM that they had on board. I mean, that's just like laughable now.
Yeah, well, there were a couple of articles available, not talking about the RAM specifically, but I think it was the video cards especially were pretty advanced for the consoles of last gen at their launch date. PC-wise, you would have to pay a lot of more money to get that equivalent hardware at the launch date, but not this gen at all.
But one of the last things in this article was the guy says he said it was really fantastic how CPUs really don't matter that much at all.
Well, and
It really-
really the big job of a CPU is providing enough system overhead for the graphics card to do its job, which is something we've been running into on PCs for years. Is CPU advances have stagnated a little bit because honestly, a lot of people don't need them, especially with the rise of parallel computing where you can do video rendering and stuff on a graphics card. So the CPUs have definitely slowed down. You just need to have enough CPU that your graphics cards aren't bogged down. Like Dave has two 680s. If he had a Pentium dual core, which you can still get decent gaming out of a Pentium dual core, decent, not great, but like you can do a decent job with a $50 processor, but he would barely get the benefit of one of his cards, let alone both of them, just because that processor won't be able to push it. So that's something very real you have to take into account. But yeah, the article is definitely right. I think it's going to rapidly change though, because the new consoles are so multi-threaded that games are going to be catching up. I want to address real quick what Joel is trying to say. The lanky soldier is saying in chat, he says, my PC costs about $700. I think in 3 or 4 years I won't be able to play on Ultra. No, you won't be able to play on Ultra. But that's the thing. Console gamers aren't playing on Ultra at any point. You'll probably be able to play on medium to low in 4 years. Probably still medium, definitely still low. And if you want to look at the games that came out on the Xbox 360 and the PS3 the last 2 years they were out on the market, they were like lower than low. They're low at 500p upscaled or 720p upscaled. at low frame rates. Grand Theft Auto 5 barely runs on the consoles. It's a gorgeous game, but it barely runs on last-gen consoles. So you can get a similar experience for the same money. But no, of course you can't play on Ultra. If you want to play on Ultra, that's what you pay. That's what you pay for, all the extra money, is to have the best settings. But you have options that a console gamer never has. But really, it's a dumb thing to argue about. I know we argue about it a lot. It's a dumb if you play games on whatever you like, but PC is definitely the more powerful platform. But I don't know.
It just interests me because my computer right now, I can't play Battlefield 4 at Ultra at whatsoever. I can only play on high, and it barely keeps at 60 FPS. Barely.
But at the end, you're picking a really crappily optimized game for that.
On my PS4, Battlefield 4, 60 FPS, it never lags. I mean, seriously, it never lags.
Draw distance is cold a lot on the console versions.
It's not that much.
And you have no frame rate counter, so as long as you're smoothing it out, you wouldn't necessarily know. You can tell if there's a big issue.
I can tell I can tell.
And the
I work with video all the time. I know what it looks like.
And you think Grand Theft Auto 4 ran smoothly on your Xbox?
I didn't say it ran smoothly. When did I ever say that?
You thought the frame rate looked fine. You've said that before.
I said when a game is at, okay, Dave was playing Destiny on the PS4 with me.
18 FPS.
He says, is this 60 FPS? It was 30 FPS, but it was locked and they had a little bit of motion blur and it looks just fine. But he didn't even know. He thought it was 60 FPS. So I'm saying 30 FPS is fine. Like I play Watch Dogs at 30 FPS on my PS4. It's great. It's because it's 100% locked and it has a little bit of the motion blur.
VSync and locking the frame rate definitely makes a big difference.
Yeah.
But I'm like Grand Theft Auto 5 was maybe like 20 FPS in the city. I mean,
I mean, it's pretty bad. It's playable, and I enjoyed it for a whole year.
Don't forget, Joel, that I've played Battlefield 4 on the Xbox One, and in my opinion, the aliasing and the pop-in were absolutely horrific and downright distracting and detrimental to gameplay too. I would aim down sights at pop-in in the distance.
Yeah, but you're also playing that in DayZ right now with terrible draw distance.
No, the draw distance in DayZ is 2,800 meters.
I can see it, and you can see the crappy, no textured grass.
You can see him 2,800 meters away. On a console, you would never be in a situation where you could look at something that far away.
I was saying, Battlefield 4 PS4 looked really, really good. Yeah, it didn't have the full anti-aliasing crap, but it looked really, really good on a PS4 at 60 FPS locked. It's like my computer couldn't do it, okay? So that means I got to lower mine down to medium.
If your computer was running on similar visual settings to your PS4, it would run it better, no questions.
Well, no, here's a problem. I lower it down on Battlefield, it does no difference. It's like nothing changes. It's like, yeah, it looks crappier, but nothing changes. You know what I'm talking about, Dave?
That's because you can't edit on the user side some of the settings that have been edited in the console versions. You can't edit the shadow Z draw distance. You can't edit the level of detail model popping distance.
Of course.
You can't edit the anti-aliasing at a hardware level. There's a lot of things that you can't tweak that the developers have and hard-coded into the console versions.
Of course. I'm just saying.
Basically, Joel, what you're saying.
I can't get my computer to run it really nice no matter what settings I choose. I choose a lower, the only thing I can make it run really fast if I go down to less than 1080p.
So what that means, Joel, is that DICE has decided to start the PC version at a base level that is higher than consoles, and maybe just for optimization
Joel,
purposes.
It's all about the individual people doing the software, the individual games. The entirety of whether it's going to be crappy or not rests with them.
I understand that. I totally agree. That's what I'm saying. That's why I really enjoy consoles, because it's because there's rarely games that come out on PC like The Witcher. It's going to be phenomenal. I know that. I understand those games. Half-Life is going to be phenomenal. Games that are made like Star Citizen.
Joel, Half-Life 3.
It's like Joel was built to live in a fascist society or something. No, take my choice away. I will love you. Tell me these are the only two choices, and I will like them.
Except we have choices. We have choices of better exclusives.
Yeah.
We're not doing that tonight. That's another night. Okay. That's another night.
I'm just saying. I love exclusive PC games because they work so phenomenally well. But I'm saying for the majority of the time, you get crappy things like that.
I would not say the majority of the time. Not the majority of the time.
When was the last podcast where man, this game run really good?
I play games all the time that run really well. We play games all the time that run really well. Major AAA releases on consoles and PCs have really taken a downturn the past couple years. Almost every AAA release sucks across the board.
Watch Dogs and Battlefield 4 sucked across everything at launch.
If you want a recent PC exclusive, Tropico 5 ran buttery smooth at launch, and it still runs buttery smooth now. I mean, that's just a most recent example I can think of. Dark Souls 2 ran fine for me. and it's still running fine. There are plenty of games that do. You just
Dark
hear
Souls
about
1, man, without a hitch.
No.
I'm kidding.
That's
my
what they
gosh.
need. Yeah, no, know what, Joel? Right here, this is why PCs are superior. We have games for Windows live.
That's dead now. We don't talk about that.
No, it's not. It's actually not dead, and it makes me sad.
Oh man, that sucks.
I know, right?
All right, Joel, I'm sorry that we turned this into an argument in the middle of a news thing.
I love
But
art.
just briefly, I will say, Joel, I'm actually going to put this article aside in one of my many tabs and read it later because it's long, but they actually go into a lot of the technical detail. And what I've just gotten from a brief reading is that what are the developers called for Metro? I'm not even sure. I can't find their studio name. They did some serious work on this game, and it is really impressive what they accomplished. These are probably the best console games I've seen so far for the like next gen, current gen, whatever you want to call it, consoles. It's a good article for sure.
Mm-hmm. Although I read it while we were doing the news thing, and I don't think it supports Joel's position quite as well. But the developers definitely, I think the biggest thing he's in favor of is the direct access to system architecture, which I mean is definitely a good thing. Like I'm all on board with people getting that. But
one of these days with Uncle Norman's money, I'm just gonna buy a $400 PC, and we will see. We will do the
Joel,
test.
if you buy a $400 PC, it's gonna suck. If you let us build a $400 PC, another thing you have to keep in mind when you're talking about $400 PCs, and this is a big thing that Steam machines are supposed to change. No one builds for the $400 gaming PC market. That is not a consumer base. Like that's like saying, why aren't people building $20 iPhones? Because no one wants a $20 iPhone. You know, they can sell them for more. They sell them for more. Hopefully, some of the Steam machines, like the $400 to $500 Steam machines, will make that more of a thing. But
it's the same reason why iPhones don't cost $900 when you buy them. You know, that's
subsidies.
Some of the actual like cost of it's like $650 something.
This is kind of an apples and oranges thing too, because you can't build a PS4. You don't build
You
your
can't,
$400
exactly.
PS4. You're paying for research and development. You're paying for marketing.
Right.
You're paying for someone else to actually build your hardware.
Well, you're paying for all that for all the individual parts you buy to build a computer.
Right,
Like,
but then technically someone should be paid to build it for you. If you
technically,
really want
yes.
to have
But that's what I'm saying. You're right. We can't really do a fair comparison because there's no profit margin for $400 gaming computers because like Sony gets a cut of games that are sold for the PS4. They're getting more cuts across the board.
Right.
You buy a graphics card from Zotac, they're not going to get anything when you buy games for it. Like they just lose money if they were going to sell a PC for that much money. I think that's why you have to custom build because it's just there's no market there. There's a market for consoles because they can sell them at a loss and make the money up elsewhere. Although with this latest generation, supposedly they're not even taking a loss, which is awesome. But they're not taking a loss because they used very moderate hardware. And they didn't try to do anything crazy like they did with the Cell processor. That was a big moneymaker for Sony. Man, the whole thing.
They've made some real gambles over the year, and some have been amazing.
The first
and some
2
have
years
just
I owned
been-
my PS3, all I was told was the Cell processor. Just wait, guys. When they figure out the optimization, this thing is going to scream. Never happened. It's always like, yeah, well, it runs worse than the Xbox 360 version. But man, that Cell processor, when they get that thing ripping.
Yeah, it was
When they
not
figure it out.
And then,
not developer
years later,
friendly.
I bet 10 years from now, some Sony guy's going to write a book called We Knew It Wasn't Going to Work, but It Sounded Cool and We Were Scared. That'll be the title. Because every time you hear them talk about the Cell processor, they're basically like, I mean, it's real powerful if someone figures out what to do with it. It's like saying I've got a Prius with 900 horsepower that only has one drive wheel. It's like, theoretically, this will go really fast. No one will ever live to see it, though.
You have to admit the exclusives did at least push the PS3 beyond.
PS3 has some awesome exclusives.
I mean, graphically, like it was able to push it quite a bit
Well,
beyond what you
you're thinking
would.
Naughty Dog.
insane looking.
You're pretty much thinking Naughty Dog and Metal Gear, right?
Well, in Heavy Rain.
Okay.
Heavy Rain on God of War series. Holy crap!
I don't think God of War 3
Did you
was...
play?
I played them all. I played them all.
It was nuts when you play the game and you're playing these gigantic bosses.
The scope of it was big, but they did the scope super big on the PS2, so the scope wasn't as impressive on the PS3. I thought they didn't really they could have taken it up another level, I was thinking, but I'm assuming if we see a God of War 4 or something on the PS4, I'm assuming it's going to be way more impressive. But man, I'm waiting to hear a lot of exciting Sony announcements. Like a lot of their exclusive studios, we have no idea what they're doing. So I'm holding out. I've had many opportunities to buy a PS4. I still haven't done it yet. It's not right yet. But Costco sells them for real cheap. So
Destiny's coming out soon.
I'm not going to buy
10
it for
days.
Destiny.
10 days, James.
I'm not going to buy it for
Oh,
Destiny.
really? Wow.
10
All right,
days.
we do have to move quicker through the news because
Okay.
we have so much other stuff to do. I'm sorry we derailed there. Electronic Arts.
It wasn't a derail. It was a complete train wreck.
They're still finding bodies.
The train was flipping over. Joel was like, "My train flips faster than yours." I'm like, "Mine's cheaper."
Mine has better smoke resolution.
So, like, here's something we can all get behind: DLC. Electronic Arts say they expect to make $1 billion in DLC revenue this year. $350 million from Madden, $300 million from game sales, $50 million from normal DLC. I don't know how they're going to make that much money off Madden. I'm not really sure, but they they want to make $1 billion just off DLC this year. So anyone who doesn't like DLC, sorry, that's not going away anytime soon.
Well, when you don't do R&D and you don't make much changes, so you don't have to have much staff from Madden, it's almost pure profit.
I'm waiting. I've heard numerous other people say this. Madden just needs to turn into a platform. Like, you just pay for the roster updates as they come out or
Well,
something.
if they had a subscription model,
yeah,
I think
exactly.
that would.
$5
They
a
probably
month.
make
There's
more,
so many
though,
people
off
that
the
would
yearly
make.
releases.
If you were charging people $5 a month to play Madden, though, that's $60 a year, and you'll probably get way more people who are like, they'll just let their subscription lapse when they would have skipped a year or something. They're like, it's
You know,
$5
it'd be
a
like-
month. Who cares?
It'd be like $8.99. Come on, you got to push those profits
Dude,
up, Jeremiah.
The
Think
monthly
big.
payment thing has to work. Think of all the things that have switched over to it. Your music now is a monthly paid service for a lot of people. Your movies and TV shows are a monthly paid service. Your radio, monthly paid service. Books now you can get as a monthly paid service because they must know people are inclined to go, that's just $5 a month. It's just $10 a month. Like,
I wonder who's
so
going to be
need-
the first to make a Netflix for games.
Well, EA has
peop-
already got the
people have already
subscription
tried
model.
Netflix for games. It was called OnLive, and it was just too ahead of its time, and it sucked. But I guess Sony's trying to do that with the PlayStation Now. It's really they bought Gaikai, which was trying to do what OnLive did, and they're just trying to bring the tech later. I'm guessing it's going to be another 5 or 6 years, and then the problem with games is not like, I don't think it's the hardware, it's the network infrastructure can't handle
Well,
it.
I think
I got to try the PlayStation Now. It was pretty incredible. It worked really well. I was really impressed. I honestly don't remember what game it was.
You
It was
can
like
watch
a 2D
Netflix though
platform.
on crappy DSL. You have to have good cable
Yeah,
to
you do have
play.
to have-
That's the problem, is we're just not there yet. I'm sure it's going to
James,
happen.
were you mentioning the EA subscribe thing? Is that what you
Yeah,
were saying?
on Xbox.
Did you hear about that, Jeremiah?
Yes, actually, that's a pretty decent deal. James,
It
would-
is.
would
What
you
is
mind
it? What
running
is
us
it?
through it?
Yeah, Dave, go ahead.
I forgot most of the details, but isn't it like it was like $6 or $7 a month?
It's basically
According to
I can do it, I
Ultra,
can do
it's
it.
$10 a month, but
$10
No,
a
they
month.
said it was
That
going to
could
be
be
$5 a
exchange
month.
rate.
They said it was $5 a month. I thought.
I thought I heard 5 or 6,
for
yeah.
accuracy.
All right. Well, anyway, the details of it are it's basically PlayStation Plus, but for Electronic Arts games. So they'll be bringing not their brand new games, but slightly older games, DLC,
But no, pretty
early
new,
access,
pretty new,
but not like you're not going to get mad on the day it comes out on this service. But you might get it a couple months later, and you'll get discounts on DLC. You'll get early access to some games. It's basically just like the EA fan club with some free games thrown in. But for $5 a month, which seems
It's
like a pretty
$5 a
decent-
month or $29 a year, $29.99.
$29 a year
That's a
is
good
very
deal.
reasonable. If Madden or FIFA hits it once a year, like that's a good deal. So yeah, I it's cool, but then
Kind of like
is that
they're
gonna-
making their own PS Plus,
Yeah, but that makes you wonder: are their EA games not going to come to PS Plus anymore? Are they just going to start screwing each other out of everything? I'm guessing
Little Steam
there's,
Origin fight style thing.
yeah,
going
I'm
again,
guessing there's going to be some of that. So now it sucks. Like I have an Origin library and a Steam library and a Uplay library because everyone just wants to
Don't
fight
mention
over
that
the
word.
pie.
Just don't even mention that word.
Yeah, but
So
This makes me wanna-
is your Origin library linked in your Steam account?
that's a thing.
Oh, linking your non-Steam games? Do you launch them
no,
from
no,
Steam?
no! I launch them through Origin.
Okay.
I'm not like embarrassed. I just
Are you thinking about family sharing, James?
no. You can launch a non Steam game through Steam. No, cool thing though, if you have Origin, you need to go to Amazon Games right now and you need to buy the complete Command and Conquer collection for $5. 17 Command and Conquer games for $5. Guys,
a lot of
we need to have
compatibility
we need to have a
issues.
we need to have a CSG Tiberium Wars night. Like that just needs to happen super bad. So please go buy it. Speaking of Origin, segue, SimCity, which you can get for I think $6 on this sale or $10. I'm not sure.
It's worth $6.
But Maxis confirmed they had no plans to extend SimCity's maximum city size because all of the things they did poorly in the game got worse as the city scaled up. They didn't say that. They just said they thought it was a good size and everyone who could do math figured it out. But there's a mod on Simtropolis, Project Orion. It will let you expand your city basically as much as you want. But issues with it, you have to install a second mod to have roads outside of the normal boundaries. Land value and pollution maps are visually misaligned. And there'll be lots of lag as it expands. But the mod is in beta, so it might fix itself. But for now,
I laughed though because I saw this posted on r/games as a giant topic. The title was something along the lines of, despite Max's insistence that larger cities were not possible, mod adds them with no issues. And the moderators actually edited the title and said, yes, severe issues. The mod's impressive, but it breaks everything.
Yeah. It's not like when the mod came out for Watch Dogs, like, oh, this makes the game pretty much objectively better in every way. Yeah, it's not like that at all.
It's very obvious why EA decided to limit the city size, and it is what everyone knew within a few months of the game's launch, is that the agent system did not scale well past a certain point.
Pierre Sloth mentioned something good in chat. ARMA 3 is half off for a couple days. You need to go buy it. If you have not, well, if you like that stuff. If you don't buy it.
Guys, the mods, I've been on the workshop for a few months now adding
We're
things.
in happy mode.
But I told Jeremiah a few nights ago, we've been playing some missions, and we're trying to get like a mod, like a 4 gig or so mod compilation package together for all of us just to have just tons of guns and new vehicles just to make missions with. And so I went on Armaholic under the, yes, it's called Armaholic, best ARMA fan site ever. I went under the ARMA 3 section, and over the course of about 3 hours, I downloaded like a couple gigs worth of mods, probably like 40 different mods all together. Just amazing amounts of
your
stuff.
Your game won't even launch.
Oh, I haven't tried to add them yet.
The way the mods actually work in ARMA, it's really smart. They're in separate contained file, so you can just turn them off very easily when you launch the game. It's kind of like the Elder Scrolls games have their, you can like turn mods on and off in the launchers. Or you might have to get a special launcher for that. It is cool because like a lot of mods, you put them in, like Grand Theft Auto is a hard game to mod, and it's so easy to screw that game up with mods. But no, they've designed ARMA to be modded. So it does a very good job. Like I don't think I've ever had ARMA break.
They're looking for the next big game.
Well, no, I don't know. It's not so much game modes, I don't think. Most of the add-on stuff for ARMA is people will add every country. You can get their faction soldiers, and you get everybody's vehicles. And, like, they just know the community is going to do such a good job adding those things. It really would be a waste of time for them to do it, because modders are going to want to do it anyway. So they kind of build a platform, and everyone else adds to it, and they add core engine features. But
ARMA
anyway.
2 blew my mind because I played it in 2009 when it first launched, and I had some issues running the game, go figure, in 2009. Put it aside for a few years and came back for DayZ, which then got us back into ARMA 2. And I kind of like stepped back and looked at all the mods available for ARMA 2, and that community, even with the smaller amount of sales that ARMA 2 had created a terrifyingly large amount of mods. Like, the dedication of these people, like, even Dean Hall was a modder in ARMA 1 and 2 before he made DayZ. Like, he has a Cessna plane mod out there that he made.
He has a couple missions he made. We loaded into a mission once, and I heard his sexy voice coming over, the voiceover. It's pretty cool.
The modding community for ARMA has always been ridiculously dedicated and really tight-knit, too. So when you buy ARMA 3, you're not just buying one of PC's most impressive sandboxes. You're buying a platform to install like 10 years worth of mods and different games onto.
Speaking of sandbox, you guys hear about Metro? Their direction to go more sandbox?
No, I hadn't heard
read
that.
about it.
They released that today.
In the article, in that same article, they were talking about their next game they're working on right now is going to be more sandbox.
It's the underground stalker I always wanted. Now it's gone forever.
All right, next news item. So Google was in talks to buy Twitch, and that fell through, and then Amazon bought Twitch. It just kind of happened all of a sudden. It turns out Google could not, Google couldn't buy it because there were potential antitrust issues arising from their ownership of YouTube. Basically, it looked like they might become a monopoly, and they weren't.
Which is good for no one except for Google.
They couldn't really reach agreements about stuff, so they didn't buy it. Then Amazon buys it. So they say Twitch CEO Emmett Shear says that Amazon and Twitch have shared visions and cultures, and Amazon thinks about problems and solving those problems in the same way we do at Twitch. Whatever. don't care about any of that. The thing I care about is Amazon's cloud computing business, which is big and booming. You can rent Amazon cloud servers, and if that makes Twitch run better, I am all for it, because we all know Twitch is decent, but for the amount of web traffic they do, like, the site grew faster than their back end did, and they have issues. So,
Yep.
we'll see. But yeah, I think that's exciting. I feel good about Amazon buying them, better about Amazon buying them than Google. Like, I guess I don't feel like Amazon screwed me quite as many times. So I don't know. I guess it's their turn.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm an Amazon Prime member, but on the other hand, I use every single Google service. I have an Android phone. I have a YouTube account. Amazon, please fight back. I want some competition.
All right, our next news item is AMD. I am an AMD fanboy. I'm not ashamed of it. I like them because they're scrappy, and every couple of years they surprise you. One problem we've always had with their processors is per core, they're not nearly as fast as Intel, but they do give you a lot of cores for the money. So you'll need less money now to buy the FX 9590. It has gone down to $219. It's a base clock of 4.7 gigahertz, and it boosts up to 5 gigahertz, which is...
Did you say 4.7 stock clock?
Boosts to 5. It's really a very high-bend version of the FX 8350, and they're introducing some mid-range chips that are 4.1 to 4.3. So even though they're slower per clock, once you get to that point, like, they're pretty stinking good deals.
You're just brute forcing it. Like, forget the efficiency. You're just throwing speed at it.
That's an 8-core, 5 gigahertz chip. That's seriously fast. Like,
DayZ 27 frames per second.
Well, but for video
Don't
rendering...
get too crazy, James.
But for video rendering or running a server or a bunch of other things, that would be like an amazing chip, and Intel couldn't compete with it for the money. But yeah, for more single-threaded gaming applications, no, it's still not going to be that amazing. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. And they're going to be shipping to R9 285 soon, which is going to be like a slightly spec'd up R9 285. And then they're shipping Radeon R7 SSDs, which are really, they bought OCZ, and they're really just OCZ drives. But they're supposed to be really, really cheap. Supposedly like $200 to $250 for like a 480 gig drive, like really reasonable prices. But that's all kind of rumors right now. So we'll see, we'll see how it goes. But that is supposedly what's happening. All right, and then if I can get copy and paste to work, we'll go to the next news item, which is PlanetSide 2 on the PS4 running at 40 to 60 FPS on ultra graphics. Joel, is this you?
Here we go again.
What's more into the breach?
The developers were just saying that it's performing pretty well, and that's basically it. They just said they're trying to really lock down to be able to get 60 right now. They said it works pretty smoothly. It's only when there's like a dozen or so people just all slammed in the mix that it kind of bogs down. But I'm like, that's really good, because that is honestly like kind of most PCs playing at ultra. Like it swings down to 40 sometimes. But I'm like, that's really good. I wasn't expecting them trying to get an ultra.
Yeah.
So well, they've done a ton of optimization on that game. Like when it first came out, no one could run it well. Like it's a huge game.
It was like the Crisis.
It was a slug in beta.
It was mostly because of the server end of it. Like the game was so big. It wasn't because of the visual fidelity or something. It was just the game was too massive. But they've optimized it enough that it actually runs really well on PCs now. So if they can hit 40 to 60 FPS on ultra settings at 1080p, that's pretty impressive. Now, it is developed by Sony Online Entertainment. So if it was going to run well anywhere, you'd hope it would run well on a PS4. But I think that's good that they seem confident. I think it's dumb that they mentioned that, though. Like, I would wait till it comes out and surprise everybody, because if it falls anywhere short of that, that's what people are going to beat them over the head with. You said ultra. You said 60 FPS.
It's 1079p.
Upscaled.
1079.
And all the PC Master Race people are like, I can see the difference. It's a little fuzzy. I don't know what's wrong with y'all.
Actually, wouldn't a 1 pixel scale like make everything just a little bit fuzzy and weird?
1 pixel scale would probably really screw something up. Yeah.
that would just feel like wrong. Like, just please, just add a single pixel of black.
What if they did this, guys? They kept it at 1080p, but they just took away pixels in certain areas of the screen, so it wasn't actually scaled. It was just like you missed pixels, like in the middle,
like a thin black bar on the outside. You could do that. You could downscale it a little bit. No one would ever know.
It's like
Alright.
having a crappy monitor.
It is now mail time. Our first piece of mail is
Mail time.
easily the longest mail we've ever gotten. It's at least 500 words. I'm not going to read it all. Jerry, who wrote in, thank you very much.
Wait,
you too
this
can
is,
write
this
in.
is a love letter to Joel, isn't it?
No.
Oh, dang it.
You too can write in casualshenanigans@gmail.com. We will not read your entire email on the show if it's too long, but I definitely did read the entire thing. I'm going to skim through it. It's still going to be long even with skimming. But here we go. Hello, CSG crew. My name is Jerry, pronounced Jerry. He spells it with a G, though, so I'm not just repeating myself. He's been wanting to write in for a long time. He said, I've been watching your videos for quite a while now. I've thoroughly enjoyed them. Thank you, Jerry. You guys are the ones who really got me engaged in DayZ. I bought a coffee when the alpha came out and was really happy with the purchase. I've been listening to the podcast for a long time. He's not sure exactly how long, but a really long time. He enjoyed it a lot. He went from an occasional listener to a regular listener. He enjoys listening to us while he does boring tasks like cutting the lawn or shoveling the driveway. It helps pass the time. Thanks. I mean, that's why I listen to a lot of podcasts too, as well. So
Driving.
he is sharing with us this piece of artwork he has made. I'm going to throw that up really quickly. Joel, have you seen this piece of artwork?
It's gonna be all of us, and then Jeremiah's head is just way
Joel,
above, like you just see.
Have you
Have you
seen
not
this piece
seen-
of artwork?
No.
Oh, okay. Joel, check Twitch chat right now.
We get to watch his reaction live. This is great. Look at the details, Joel. The details.
Joel Beer is 0.00. I think water's a little bit more. Consoles. Norman Mobile, aka the Kickstarter Brinks truck. What's this guy?
His name's Jerry.
At least he's got at least I've got the body of Rambo shooting rainbows. I didn't see that.
You've got a Jeremiah-sized head, though.
Oh, my head's not that big.
Wow. He probably made this on his console.
Thank you,
Ultra-
Jerry. We very much appreciate that.
Ultra Gret says 420 Joel it.
So he goes on to say, I would like to
can't
point out the
breathe.
fact that I'm 16 and can still down more alcohol than Joel. We can't officially condone underage drinking. Anyways, I got to participate, and this is the first anyways of a bunch. He actually has a technology question much farther down this email. But I got to participate in the battle for Nova. I wanted to say he had a lot of fun. Thanks for getting us all together. He was on Dave's team as sniper number 2. He said he thought he was going to kick some ass and make the team proud, and he came out with my AKM, which he still has. He said it was really fun. He hopes to do it more often. Then he says, so you guys seem to lean more into giving back to your community than other YouTubers do. With the addition of your public Teamspeak and the community events, it got me wondering, do you think that eventually you will rent your own virtual server with those bags full of Patreon money on which you can host your Teamspeak and possibly a public DayZ server? I think the community would really enjoy being able to hop onto a central server surrounding CSG and also be able to interact with you guys. What are your thoughts on that or anything else regarding community-oriented things? And I'm paraphrasing a little bit just for time. Well, the CSG server is actually paid for out of Patreon money, and one of us is not hosting that. That is hosted by gameservers.com. That is entirely paid for by Patreon, and you guys are taking advantage of it. You guys are definitely hanging out on there every night. So thank you for doing that. We're having a ton of fun hanging out with you. So that's definitely that's already happening. And then the DayZ server is definitely a possibility. That's a higher up Patreon perk though, because DayZ servers are kind of expensive. And honestly,
Yes.
I'm not in a super big hurry to host a DayZ server because I don't really see the reason to right now. I'm sure it'll get to that point, but right now, and we're going to get to this in our main topic. I just don't really see there be a big advantage to us hosting a DayZ server right now, but it's definitely something we want to do at some point. And heck, I'd be okay, like depending on how hard it is to host stuff, I'd be okay just like using Patreon money, build a little box and stick it somewhere in my apartment and just host off one of our things. Like,
I think you have to have a partner for DayZ.
do you? Okay. But like
Because
TeamSpeak
the
and
server
and other
files
servers
are
I'd be
locked
okay with.
down.
Gotcha. That
Yeah.
makes sense. That makes sense. But like, I was just thinking there's many ways we could probably do this, but right now DayZ server is not in the cards right now, but we would definitely like to do it at some point, but the TeamSpeak server
honestly,
is a start.
You're missing one big benefit to having a server.
What?
When you're getting shot up, you can just reset the server.
We'll get to that. Hold on, James. Keep those dogs leashed for now.
That pro DayZ
But let
MLG
that
gameplay,
anger-
James. You
let
know
that-
how it's
Let
done.
that anger start building, though. That's very healthy. I like that. I like that.
What I was gonna say though is I think around maybe the end of the year, like in December, once tents, persistence, vehicles, and all like it's pretty stable, and it's a lot like the mod as far as features, and we have a reason to have a home base. If we push Patreon hard and everybody jumps on board, we really could have like a DayZ home that like we're just always playing when we're playing DayZ on there, hanging out,
That's
and
the
it would be
eventual
first
goal.
person. It would be first person.
Yeah, it probably would be. And we hosted a mod server, and it was decently fun, but not that many people played on it. It wasn't.
It
Really
was right
worth
when
it then.
the mod had dropped off severely because of the hacking. Right when we hosted our server.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay, so now he's getting to his tech question. He says, "Sorry for dragging this on for so long. That's okay, Jerry. We accept you." He has a couple questions about his PC. He wants to make sure he takes all the right steps. His current PC is the one he has just sent me a link to. Dave, I should have sent you a link to this earlier, but I'll just read out the specs. It's an Asus pre-built computer. It's not a gaming computer. It's just a just like a regular desktop
this is
computer.
his current PC.
Current PC.
Okay.
It's an Asus. It has an i5, a GT 620 graphics card, 8 gigs of RAM, and a hard drive. Just regular hard drive. So he wants to know what kind of GPU should he get. He wants to be able to play DayZ like it's meant to be played, 1080p near 60 FPS with the best possible settings and stable while recording. I'll stop you right there, Jerry. Everyone wants to do that.
Jeremiah, I got this. To play DayZ on those settings, what you're gonna want to do is build an i7. You want one of the 8 cores coming out in a few months, and you're gonna want to not play DayZ until summer 2015. And you're
Or
good to
you
go.
can, or you can fly to Bohemia and work off their servers.
Jerry, everyone wants to
direct.
play
They're not playing at 60 FPS.
Yeah, everyone wants to play it at 60 FPS, but the game is in pre-release. It hasn't been optimized. It's literally impossible to have stable 60 FPS in that game right now, unless you're in the wilderness or something. I routinely get over 60, but that's in the wilderness. But we can. I understand what you're asking though. I don't play many other games that require tough power. I don't need overkill, but it would be nice to have something that can handle other games. I prefer NVIDIA and want to get Shadow Play. Do you have any recommended graphics card brands? He has no idea about those. He was thinking about getting an R9 290, but he'd prefer NVIDIA. So if we could recommend one that's the same performance of an R9 290 with the same price, that would be great. Can't recommend one that's the same price as an R9 290 with similar performance. AMD always wins on price to performance. But his question is, what needs to happen for me to upgrade? If I upgrade to a new card, can I overclock it? Do I need to buy a power supply? Do I need a new motherboard? And this is overclocking the graphics card, not its processor. Do you have any suggestions on alternative different priority upgrades? Should I wait till new GPUs come out? Is there a better time to buy? Should I save up longer and build a completely new PC? Should I just take advantage of Amazon's 30-day return policy and try out some different cards? If you could recommend a good SSD, that would be nice too. Help me, I'm scared. You don't need to be scared, Jerry. His budget, he has $720, doesn't want to spend it all. He'd rather get something that's around $400 for the graphics card. Okay, so basically, he's got a regular desktop. He wants to beef it up some. He's got a couple $100. I would not save up your money and build a new computer yet. And Dave, and any of you guys jump in as you have comments. But I would buy a new graphics card, and to do that, you will also need to get a new power supply. You can easily do that for the $400 you had allotted for the graphics card. Then you can just use that until it just won't play new stuff anymore, and then build your whole new PC and take that graphics card with you. But if you have an i5, even if it's like one of the cheaper i5s, that's going to be pretty good for gaming. Like, you're not going to get a huge advantage out of getting a better processor, and you can't really get a better processor with your current setup. So leave everything else the same. You do need to measure the inside of your case and find out how much room you have in the slot that your GT 620 is in now. You need to find out how many inches of room you have, and that will dictate how big of a card you can put in there. But for your budget, I would get a GTX 770. If you want to get NVIDIA, get a 770 and get a Corsair 650 watt power supply, and I will leave links for both of those in the description of this podcast. If you get both of those, your graphics horsepower is going to go up by a factor of 20, basically. A GT 620 is not a good graphics card. It's like barely above an integrated graphics.
It's for like watching HD video.
yeah, it's just a graphics accelerator. It's not really designed for gaming. So if you get a real graphics card and a decent power supply to push it, you will be able to play pretty much every modern game at least medium to high settings, depending on the rest of the stuff in the computer. But you can do this for a very reasonable amount of money. I have an R9 290. It's a very good performing card. I'd recommend one, but I seriously doubt your case is going to be able to fit one because my card's almost 11 inches long. It's an enthusiast card, and you kind of need an enthusiast case to fit it. But for SSDs, I'd buy a Samsung 840 or the new 850s that are coming out soon. Really, you can't go wrong with either. They're stupid fast. Decide how much you want and how much you want to spend, and then get whatever 840 Evo fits your budget. He said, should I wait till new GPUs come out? New GPUs come out every year. Don't wait. I mean, there's not enough of a jump every year that you're really missing out on a super ton. If you happen to buy one and the new ones come out a month from now, you're still getting a pretty good deal.
How far around the corner is DX? Is 12?
DirectX
No
12?
ETA,
Yeah, we don't know
as
yet.
far as I know.
I would not
Okay.
wait for that because games still aren't going to support it for a long time after
Right.
that. So it's not. I wouldn't let that make the decision for you. I don't think you need to buy a bunch of cards, try them on Amazon, and return them. I would just get a GTX 770 or an R9 290. Get a Corsair 650 watt power supply. You'll be fine, and I think you'll be very surprised with how much gaming performance you get. But very importantly, measure the inside of your case. Also, see how much heat expulsion your case features. Like if it has one fan on the back, you're gonna want a GTX 770 because it'll vent the air
Or
out
put
the
it
back.
in a fridge.
And it's not a super hot card. But yeah, like you do not want an R9 290 if you only have like one fan on the back. That's gonna cook everything inside your computer.
Don't put it in the fridge though. Condensation.
Yeah,
Bad.
But
Electronics.
It's but in all seriousness, like you want to add enthusiast parts to a regular consumer desktop. It's not really designed for it. You can do it, but you're going to run into a few small issues probably. I would still definitely do it though. Get the best cards you can. I'm sure you'll be fine. All right. Our next.
You know, Joel, this actually holds true when talking about the PS4 as well. When you're upgrading your PS4's graphics cards, you want to make sure that you measure the just. Oh wait, you can't.
When you want to put that $400 setup in your PS4.
When you've got that tax return money from Uncle Sam, and you're like, I need things that no one really needs.
Yep.
Then you got to measure first.
But here's the difference. Joel has both.
Aww.
That's because
like all of it, we're adults with jobs.
well, I guess you could technically call it a job.
Oh, shut up, Dave. They gave you. They fixed it a little. I'm so sorry.
I can almost afford a used Xbox 360 to play through Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, says the man with an AR-15 hanging on the back wall. You have different priorities, Dave.
You've
Just
got a
acknowledge
pretty
it.
nice safe back there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What are you keeping in that safe there, Dave?
It's
Poverty?
actually it's
Stacks
very
of
very
poverty.
It's very empty.
Have you sold
actually.
everything in it? Could you get a console or two? Yes.
sold
The
everything in
answer is
it.
yes. I know
Yeah, I
it's in
could.
there. Yeah, you definitely could.
Well,
Okay, so you have
yeah, I
different
counted my
priorities.
hits,
How many
but,
guns
yeah.
does Joel have? Not that many. You also live in a freestanding residence. Joel lives in a townhouse. Joel has different priorities. Joel's goal is to have every square foot of his house packed with little electronics with red lights blinking as they charge. Joel wants his power bill to be $500
I
a
love
month.
technology. Not as much as you see, but I still love technology.
All right, our main topic tonight is actually, I wanted to talk about it for a while, but it was brought up by Dombrowski. I'm not really sure how to say his last name, but that's what he goes by. He wrote into casualshenanigans@gmail.com just like you can and says, I've recently found your podcast. I've been enjoying it. I like the PC gaming DayZ theme, and I haven't been able to find that anywhere else. I have a question regarding the moral responsibility of the owner of a game server and want to hear your take on it. Do you feel the owner of a game server has the moral obligation as a gamer to provide a fair and balanced experience to all players, so the Fox News experience? Or do you feel that it's acceptable for the person that pays the bills to be totally justified in doing whatever they want, including the abuse of players, since no one is forcing anyone to play there? Obviously, no one likes a dick admin, and there are mostly no rules, with the somewhat exception of DayZ, that say it has to be done one way or the other, so this is purely academic. Having run game servers in the past, I can see both sides of the issue, but was interested in your take on it. So guys, what's your take on that? If you run a game server, what is your responsibility?
I would
think
say
I don't think there's any moral component to it at all. To be honest.
Well, I guess moral on a variety of degrees. Like, is it morality related, like, on the same scale as war and genocide? No. In the realm of video games, is there some, maybe not morals, but ethical? Would you say there may be some ethical questions?
I don't know. Being a dick isn't really even ethics, you know? I mean, that's just kind of you're either kind of a crappy
about this
person or.
For you, James, let me ask you this. When the hacking got really bad in the DayZ mod, and then private servers were getting very, very popular, some admins wrote some tools that not only allowed you to read all the logs, like try to hunt down the hacker like in a giant log to figure out who's like spawning things, but you could actually like free cam on different players. Even if you were also playing on the same server, you could free cam, follow them around, see like where their tents were and whatnot. And it worked really well for figuring out who was cheating. But that's a lot of power in one person's hands, and immediately there were admins and servers who abused it. Would you find an issue if you were playing DayZ and you were looting and playing legitimately, and you knew that there was like an eye in the sky that could watch you at any time? If you knew that they were watching you and like finding your tents and stuff, would you find an issue with that?
I probably wouldn't play their server.
A good point. But what if?
But that's the thing. DayZ does have a set of terms of service that they're supposed to kind of stick to, even though they don't necessarily.
Private hives. Private hives
don't. But we're running into the issue of people who just rent servers, and they're publicly available, and they're kind of gaming the system.
For me, that's the issue.
That's where the problem.
Right. The issue is they're presented as, this is another DayZ server, and then you hop in, and I'll just walk people through really quickly what happened to us. You can see it in a recent Breaking Bad episode, but we edited it for time and stuff. But we were playing on a server. We saw two guys at the airfield. We engaged them. We killed them, and then the server restarted all of a sudden. So we thought, I wonder if those were the admins. But you can't tell for sure. It could have just been bad timing. So the server comes back up. I'm running around the airfield. And then one of the guys stands back up, like one of the dead bodies. So I shoot him again. And the server restarts 10 seconds later. So at that point, we knew we were killing the admins, and they were restarting the server trying to get their life and their gear back.
See, I have a problem. I have a major problem with that.
Everyone should have a problem with that because
there's
we
a different.
Sorry, go ahead.
There's a difference when you have your own private server, and you pretty much say, "Hey, you want to play on this? These are the rules. You might not like the rules, but you don't have to play here."
And there's nothing wrong with a private server, but it was accessible through the public DayZ server browser. Like, it wasn't presented as our house, our rules thing. Like, if they
I wish they had passwords and stuff for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. If you want to have a password protected server where you do whatever you want, as long as you're not breaking the terms of service, I wouldn't care. But when I click on regular DayZ servers and your server pops up and I hop into it and you abuse the players, I do see that as a major issue. Also on Battlefield servers, there are tons of Battlefield servers that are public-facing ranked servers that say, you use grenades, we'll ban you. Use the jets, we'll ban you. You use rocket launchers, we'll ban you. Like, I mean, there's ones like, if you're too good,
and
we'll
they can't enforce that according to the terms of service.
Yeah,
they can't enforce it. But players have to run into that, run across the admins, get kicked from the server, figure out what server they were on, and then report that and wait for the reports to go through and actually for action to be taken. Otherwise, they just get away with it.
Let's see, if it says if you use grenades or this and that, if you don't have the ability to actually lock it out, I don't think that's even fair to say.
If you don't want people
to
use it, take it out.
Yeah, I mean, if it's spawning in the game, or you're for Battlefield, you start with a grenade. I mean, if you can't turn that feature off, then just deal with it.
Yeah, I'd have no problem with the server owner saying, like, on my server, it's knife only, and all of your other weapons are removed. Like, okay, then it's knife only, and you can leave if you don't want to play that. But when you give people the full tool set and then force them to play by your stupid rules just because you decided on a public, official server, that's stupid. Ranked server. I think what I would like to see in more games is have like separate tabs, official servers and player-hosted servers. And the player-hosted servers would have to have a disclaimer that when you launch them, that basically says, hey, it's the Wild West here, like, good luck. And they ought to have a report button so you could report admin abuse. Because a lot of the times, what we run into is people aren't hosting their own game servers for a custom experience. They're hosting it because they want to be the god of their own little world, and they want to ban people who are better than them or don't play how they think the game should be played. And yes, if you're hosting a server, you can do whatever you want. But when you're hosting a public server that people can join expecting a vanilla experience because they haven't seen anything that tells them otherwise, that's an issue.
See, the thing I like, just haven't even got a chance to play it, but just looking at the Epoch or Overwatch stuff, when they have their own setups. I think that's cool. I mean, if you have the ability to customize your server to create a different experience, and you can advertise it as such, that's one thing. But if you're just putting out some rules out there, like if you're going to play on here, don't, no KOS and no this or that. You can't. If you can't
Every DayZ server says that. No KOS. Right. Okay.
That's
Character
silly
has
to
to have a
me.
10-year backstory and a family tree, like mine do.
Well, but on the Epoch servers, when you're joining them, when you're like, there's a big old splash screen that you get to stare at for 5 minutes because the mod didn't load
10
very
minutes.
fast. 10 minutes maybe, and they walk you through all the rules. They have very clear expectations set, and I have no problem with that. Usually, I think the games that we have the problem with most of the time are DayZ standalone servers and Battlefield servers. Like, there are Team Fortress servers that are just like cats shooting lasers at everybody, people pinging around. But they're very upfront about it. They're like, these are servers for people who want to do this, and it's no big deal. But it seems like the butt hurt is what's the issue. People who just I don't care if people want a custom experience. I care when they abuse people who are just looking for a vanilla
That's the one thing I've
experience.
always been frustrated with server browsers and stuff. Just because like you have to wade through the amount of muck just to find something. I'm like, I just like, please, can I just play on official, like how Battlefield wants it supposed to be played, and then just get into a game?
But then you see the problem with that, Joel, is like, I want to play on an official server, which means I get to sit for 15 minutes while Titanfall tries to find me an official server to play on. Like, at least with the PC, you get to try a couple different server browsers, and even if some of them are crap, I don't know. It makes me feel like I have a little bit of choice in the matter.
You just launched and it was like, it worked.
Well, there are games that have really good matchmaking, and there are plenty of them that don't. Like Modern Warfare, pretty good matchmaking. I never had to wait that long. But that game is also one of the most popular first-person shooters, so there were tons of servers. The problem with the whole matchmaking thing is if you have a ton of servers, it's great, and if you don't, you really need a server browser, and then you run into all the problems with idiots.
Actually, Joel, I was just checking on Battlelog now. There is now an option where you can search for only official DICE and EA servers.
That is
on
nice.
Battlelog.
Finally. Oh, just a little tidbit for you guys. Apparently, there's more PS4 players playing Battlefield 4 than PC.
I'm sure that's true because most of the PC players have deserted it because DICE screwed it up so bad.
Joel, there's more PC players playing Battlefield 2 than Battlefield 4. I guarantee it with all the mods and stuff. I guarantee it.
We can what else can we play this game with? There are more PC players playing
Farmville than
Farmville.
Battlefield 4.
Well, that's true.
Wow,
there are more PC players playing Bejeweled than Battlefield 4. There are more PC players playing Battlefield 3 than Battlefield 4. It wouldn't surprise me.
Actually, speaking of Battlefield 4 and occasionally coming across weird servers, a lot of the rules and stuff they can't really enforce. There is some admin abuse where if your KDR gets too high or you're too good in a jet or too good in a tank, they'll kick you because they suck. But there was a server that someone found last week that I'm sure by now DICE has personally nuked it from orbit. They joined the server, and on the splash screen it said, "This is an explosives-free server. No grenades, no RPGs, no underslung grenade launchers, no lock-on weapons, nothing. Unless you are a server VIP member. Become a VIP member for $5 to use explosives." And someone's like, I'm pretty sure this violates the terms of servers. They're profiting off of these custom rules.
And do they make really any money off that? Who's going to be like, that's worth it so I can play on this server, not one of the other
People
$2,000 server, like 2,000 servers that are available?
People do buy it. That's what blows my mind is people will pay that for that experience.
How many people, though?
Because you also
How
get
many people pay for hacks?
Also a good question. The thing about the
According
Super
to
2
DayZ,
Jeremiah
it must
is
be like 30,000, I'm guessing.
with that example in particular, not only did you get the explosives and not getting kicked by the server for using explosives, but you also got the VIP slot. So like if the server was full, you could join, pull out your grenade launcher, and massacre the other 63 people that were playing. So you got like premium access, quick access, and then you could do whatever you wanted. People would pay for that kind of power. It's just this side of like paying for hacks. Like if you don't want to go that far and might get your account banned, like pay for an unfair advantage inside the server instead.
Yeah.
I want to know who the stupid people are that go in there and play that don't pay. Like,
I know,
who wants to go into that situation? Like, well, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure nobody paid for it.
And then there's like 10 people like on the roof with like an ammo box next to them.
But
just
how would you know if
chucking
someone was
grenades.
using explosives? How would you know if they're a paying member or not? Like, that doesn't even seem enforceable.
They have scripts that they can run on the server that compare player names to a whitelist, basically.
Good old scripts. Good old scripts.
And actually, I was very glad though that James, you brought up Epoch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great example actually of the good side of custom servers, even with crazy rules, is as long as the title is good, you can really create some unique experiences. And yes, sometimes Epoch titles are like 4,000 characters long and ridiculous, but
they should probably limit the amount of characters for some of that stuff.
yeah, well, going through the Epoch server list, you really do have a really wide variety of options. You can play vanilla Epoch, or you can find servers that have features like maybe you don't like gathering fuel for vehicles, so you find a server that has the automatic refuel when you pull up to a gas station. Maybe some players would be like, that's a little too easy. Like I want to actually have to find the fuel. You can look for it in like 2 minutes. You can find a couple of servers that have that not available. So that is a good example of kind of the freedom. And then the other example I was thinking of was Gary's Mod. There are no official Gary's Mod servers. Gary's Mod is almost like a different game from what I haven't played it myself. I want to very soon. But from what I've heard, when you join a Gary's Mod server, you could be playing a different game basically than other people on different servers.
Well, Gary's Mod is a platform. It's not really a game in the common sense. Like it's a platform, and people create all these weird games to play on it. So just like with Team Fortress 2 or Counter-Strike, you can join a Gary's Mods. Well, they're all source-based. Who would have known? But you can join a Gary's Mod server that will be all kinds of, weird things. And who knows?
Yeah, I jumped into. I remember like the old Source games, just like Day Defeat or Counter-Strike Source. I jumped in. I was like, oh, I want to play this game. I haven't played it for a while. I like jumped into one. I was like, what? It was like downloading all this stuff. I was like, what is going on?
Custom sounds. Ew.
Dude,
Ew, ew, ew.
Dude, I was playing in a McDonald's, and like every kill was like, whoa, 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 and it's like, kill, and I'm like, what the crap?
Actually, that's a great example too, Joel. I had forgotten, like, for as hardcore of a game as Day of Defeat was, like, pretty good sound and all first day, there were some weird mods for that World War II game.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I like the ones that was like, Momo multi-kill, unstoppable. I'm like...
That's right. Feed my ego. Feed it.
All right. It is now time for 90 Seconds with Joel, part of the podcast where Joel talks about something for however long the crap he wants to. So, Joel, what do you have for us tonight?
Okay, I always like reading about weird ethical questions and dilemmas. It's a new chocolate candy coming out from
Hot or not?
Miller's coming out from Willy Wonka. New chocolate. So I found this one. It was just funny.
There's 20 seconds.
It's just interesting.
Should we go look at the list now? You said don't read it, but I've got to open a tab. I haven't been to it yet.
No, I'll just read it to you guys. Ready?
Okay, all right.
So the dilemma is, a pregnant woman leading a group of people out of a cave on a coast is stuck in the mouth of a cave. And stuck in the mouth.
Leave her.
Of,
Problem solved. Oh no, sorry. There's more. Okay.
Okay. In a short time, a high tide will be upon them, and unless she is unstuck, they will all be drowned except the woman whose head is out of the cave. Fortunately, or unfortunately, someone has with them a stick of dynamite.
Wait, who calculated the water line? Like, who's been here for long enough to calculate the water line?
It's just a problem. There seems to be no way to get the pregnant woman loose without using the dynamite, which will inevitably kill her. But if they do not use it, everybody will drown.
Oh, she's blocking the opening.
Yeah, she's blocking. Yeah,
Gotcha.
she's blocking.
Number one, why did she go first?
She's a pregnant woman.
What does that mean?
Women and children first.
Who went on a cave hike? That's her problem.
No, they're
Okay,
coming,
but you said her head was stuck.
they're coming back out of the cave, but she gets stuck, so her head's kind of like peeking out of the cave.
All right, so make sure I understand. Everyone else is stuck behind her.
So let's say
But she's high enough that if the water comes in, they'll all drown. She won't drown because she's high enough in the cave.
And someone's calculated this out.
And they can blow her out of the way with a stick of dynamite.
Yeah.
And the pressure won't kill all of them inside the cave.
They can't like push her back in the cave and like.
No.
So we're just assuming for the sake of argument,
that
there's no other way out of this except to explode this woman.
Yeah, except for to just strap a bunch of dynamite on her, like one of the bloaters in Left 4 Dead 2.
Okay.
That's a really great example.
It works though. It works.
So
You're gonna shove it down her throat.
Boomers, Joel?
Boomers. What did I say? Bloaters.
Bloaters. That's pretty accurate.
I think that might be the name of the Last of Us people. The bloaters.
Anyway.
So
that's me after a Mexican lunch.
Let's just go down the line and don't go, oh, is there a third option? No, there's only two options. Okay?
Wait, we're asking what would we do?
It's just, would you blow her up to save 150 people, or would you let...
There's 150 people in the cave?
What type of caving trip is this?
2 or 3 people. Like, are you talking about 150? That's kind of a
But
no-brainer.
still, so you're okay with strapping the dynamite on her and blowing her up? Would you do it? Do you think
To
you could do
save
it?
150 people?
Yeah.
Can she communicate back into the cave?
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're doing that, and then you're also killing a unborn kid or semi-born.
I'll go if no one else wants to touch this one.
148 left.
All right.
Balancing it out.
So the fact that the child isn't born yet doesn't make it worth more than one of the other already born human lives, in my opinion. So, but people will hop all over it. It's an emotional argument. An unborn child, get over it. So first problem is this woman went on a caving trip, apparently so pregnant that she can't fit back out the hole. That's problem number one. Problem number two, I refuse to accept that this is a or B situation. I understand that it's a hypothetical situation, so I will give you an answer based on the hypothetical situation. But for the record, I refuse to accept that that's our only options are to blow her up or everyone drown. But in this scenario, yes.
Wait a minute. If does she not drown also if you don't blow her up?
Her head's above
No,
water.
her head's above.
She's like at the
she's
top of
poking
the
up through
ramp
the
or whatever.
cave. So imagine this little hole right here, and head's up like this, right?
Eventually
It's
she's
too
gonna get-
big, and she can't get through. Right?
Eventually the waves are going to start crashing in. It's going to get...
Well,
she's gonna drown.
there's no other way for her to get out, right? She can't be
It's
unstuck.
not about how many other ways. It's just about those are the two options.
Well, no, so I'll answer
Would
it.
you feel okay with doing that?
If she's stuck and there's no other way to free her in this hypothetical situation, she's going to die in there eventually, and so will her unborn child. So in that scenario, yes, I would absolutely kill her quicker so everyone else could get out.
Nice. That's what I would do. I'd
100%.
100%. Like, hey, I'm blowing you up.
200%.
No, you don't tell her that. You tell her you're going to try to wiggle her free, so her last thought is the happy
I'm
face.
wiggling you through. You're like strapping the dynamite on your leg.
I'm attaching
Okay.
a brace.
Now, just to shift a little bit of directions, the second one is there's a trolley, right? Just
Wait,
running down the
Dave
track.
didn't answer.
Dave, I'm not even worried about Dave because he'll just go, well, there's a third option and a fifth option, and so I would just
Dave will
hide
be the
back
first
in the
answer.
cave. I would dig my way down deep
Dave
into
will
the
answer
earth.
the next one first, okay?
Okay, Dave will.
We don't
alright.
like Kagro pockets. I'm sure I have some gun oil or something. We can work with this.
Okay, so a trolley is running down the tracks, just speeding away, and there's 50 people in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can't get free; they're just stuck in it, right? Let's say they're all chained in it. So
How
they're
many
just-
people?
50. Okay.
Oh.
50 people chained into this trolley, and it's just running
Okay.
loose down this thing. Well, there's a split in the train tracks, okay? And you can pull a lever, right? If you pull a lever, it's gonna make it divert into a whole bunch of just like sand. So they're gonna just crash, but they'll be okay. They'll survive, right? But if it goes the other way, if you don't pull it, they go off a cliff and they die, right? But by pulling that lever, you realize there's some dude way far down below there, like on the train tracks, and there's no chance, no possible way you can tell him, hey, get out of the way. You just have to make that decision. There's no
These
time.
dilemmas are
That's it.
not hard.
These are
I'm just
such
saying.
made-up situations.
No,
Real
no, no, no,
dilemmas.
No, it'd be different if
Wait.
it was like
No,
your child is strapped to the road or something like that. That's a dilemma. That's something you're like,
No,
okay,
but listen to this though. It gets even worse. Here's the difference, right?
Okay.
So
I've got my answer.
I would find it'd be okay to pull it. Okay, all right, maybe this guy's gonna die. You know, it's not like you're actively killing him. Now, what if it changes? There's a big dude, huge guy, right? If you shove this guy onto the train tracks, he literally will stop it. All 50 of those people will save.
One of the passengers?
No. Like as the trolley car's coming down, right?
Do we kill a fat person
if you-
to save a skinnier person? Is what you're
Let's say
asking.
it's just a smaller. Just
Is
skinny dude.
the large
But-
person Jeremiah? We're gonna.
But
push
it's
him
the
to
act of
tracks.
actually pushing him on the train tracks will actually save him, okay? I just like the idea that it's like, okay, so you're pretty much doing the same thing. This guy is gonna die on your hands. I mean, you're pulling your trigger, it's gonna go into the divert on the tracks, he's gonna die. But like, why is that so completely different? You know what I mean? Like, I guess you're actively pushing him on, but what's the difference between you pushing him on or pulling?
This is such a made-up situation, though. But Dave, hold
Yeah.
on. You're first. Sorry, you're first. Go ahead.
I, for one, am just really glad that Joel can come up with such great PC gaming questions for the podcast. I mean, the amount of relevance pouring from Joel's mouth right now is cascading over my ears.
That sounds very.
I'm actually
sexual.
visually picturing that. Not sexually.
Joel,
I'm
everything is
relevant.
sexual to you.
Wow. I don't want to hear about your cascading over his ears. In a sexual. Yikes.
I think morally, no. I don't think I could murder someone to save, because there's no guarantee that I'm going to save these people.
No, see, that's the problem.
That's
That's
the
the problem, Dave. This hypothetical situation, it is a guarantee, and that's what makes it not a real situation. I'm with you on that, but no, in this hypothetical situation, you will save all of them.
That's a dumb question then.
Exactly. That's the problem with it. It's not a real dilemma.
All right, I have my answer.
All right, James.
Because in real life, you would be shoving someone onto the tracks with maybe even a good possibility of maybe saving everybody, but you don't know that.
Right.
So you're going to commit murder over the chance of saving a bunch of people?
There'd be a better dilemma if they said you have a 30% chance of saving everyone in the trolley if you push this guy in front of it.
See, now there's a dilemma.
That's a
like
dilemma.
that. Yeah.
Did you make these up, or did you get
No,
this
he's got
from
this
No,
list.
they're real. They're a real thing. They came. This one guy invented
On
them back in, like,
Listverse.
20s.
Oh, the
this one
BuzzFeed
guy
of lists.
invented it.
No, yeah, it was
It's an invention.
Okay, I learned in psychology class. One of them that I thought was really crazy
You need
was
to get your
just
money back.
to save 100 people, you would have to actively burn a small, like a girl, like a small girl's hand. You'd have to burn her hand, right?
That's
no,
it?
No, no, no. Well, okay, well, here's the
Man,
think about. No, but
James
think about
needs to
it,
go work
though.
for the CIA. That's it. That's acceptable.
I
While
know,
maintaining eye contact.
I don't think you could.
You have
I
to
don't
take
think
out
you
5
could.
dictators? Okay.
No, but I don't think you could though.
You're a real empathetic guy, though, Joel. Maybe you couldn't. But
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like,
Maybe
I
you-
think
maybe
it's just
you could,
crazy.
but maybe
Like,
that's why you need
could you imagine
sociopaths.
doing that? Though?
That's why
Like, you'd have
society
to
needs
burn her
sociopaths.
hand.
I know what my answer is. Okay.
Okay.
I think what I would actually do is I would actually just push Joel onto the tracks, and that would be the end of all these scenarios. Like, boom, the world's a better place. Scenario's over.
But no, just to add a slightly serious thing onto this ridiculous scenario. Thank you for bringing this up, by the way, Joel. This is fun to fight about. This totally made up thing. But that's why I think it's good that there are actual sociopaths in society. Not psychopaths. There's a difference. But sociopaths who can just logically look at a situation and totally removed from all emotional values think, well, what logically makes the most sense here, and do it. Where you're a very empathetic person, like you care about people. That's a good thing, by the way. But I think sometimes you do need people who can make the tough call, who aren't going to get hung up on the emotions of it, and they can just make what is going to be, quantifiably the best call to make, no matter what.
But
Even if there are emotions, even if you're not a sociopath.
Yeah.
For me, if I'm gonna make that, actually, I'll give you my answer. I actually kind of agree with the Ultra Grunt. I'd probably just walk away and go eat a sandwich or something, and
Wait, now,
just
James,
watch it all happen.
in this situation, would you burn your daughter's hand?
To save 100 people, probably.
okay, but the thing is, I don't know. But I mean,
But here's the
imagine
thing.
us, like a lot
Here's
of
the thing.
100 of us,
cute,
like
though,
good
James.
friends. And
Your
people.
daughter's
Here's the
really
thing. You're
cute.
talking about. You're sacrificing someone else, but you're also you have to come to the realization that you're sacrificing yourself too. You're sacrificing your emotional well-being for many years to come, but you're doing it for a better cause. And that's
what made the thing even harder. It was just interesting because I got an A in my psychology classes, which is I really enjoyed them. And the crazy part was this: they said, okay, a little girl, you have to burn her hand. Let's say you don't have to. Like, it's not like lighting it completely on fire, but you have to hold her hand and burn it until she starts screaming. Okay. And then they said, okay, so that's 1 versus 100 people, right? So you do it. So let's say there's 100 versus 100, like 1,000 people, right? Okay, like maybe if it was with my kid and he was like a boy, right? I'd be like, dude, I know you're gonna hate this. I got to do this. Maybe you'll understand one of these days, right? And it might be really hard. Maybe I couldn't even do it. But then the guy said, okay, 2 kids to 1,000 people. What about 3 kids?
Mm-hmm.
When would be the line where I feel like I would maybe get to the line where I'd be like, screw it, just kill all 1,000 of us. It's not
but
worth
with real
going
with
to this
real
kind of
life,
stuff.
it's never
never a guarantee.
You don't get to choose your odds. Like
Right.
that's why.
Yeah.
But that's why this situation is so
When
easy.
countries
If I could kill 900 people to save 1,000, objectively it's better. If I had to guaranteedly kill 900 people to have a 50% chance of saving 1,000, that's a dilemma.
I don't think I could do 900 to do 1,000 because I don't think I could handle the emotional scarring to.
Well,
to
let's say a drone drops a bomb.
But
you press one button.
as a leader of a country, when you're talking about sending troops into a war, a justifiable war, I mean, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to lose. You think about World War II. I mean, countries lost significant amount of troops. But if you look at the overall picture, do you wish we hadn't gone into World War II? I mean, the hindsight is that they made the choice to sacrifice some troops to ultimately prevent significantly more than they could have predicted deaths.
Joel, I think really the problem with all of these hypothetical situations, and I enjoy them. But the problem with them is that they're absolute situations, and life almost never has absolute situations.
That's true, but the only thing, the one reason why I brought that up is he said there was a very specific thing like that happened to this one guy. He was captured. He was a prisoner of war, and he had to fight one of his friends, right? Like, and they would make them torture each other, right? And so it was either torture that guy, and they would make him do these, and they would play with them, like, and just go toy with them. And there's a movie coming out this December by Angelina Jolie is directing it. It looks amazing. I wish I remember the name of it, but it's about a POW that literally got shot down, became a POW, and all this crazy stuff. He had to literally beat his friends. They would make So I'm like, it'd just be crazy thinking, okay, will I kill one of my friends to save 10 of them, or I don't, and all of them die? That actually would happen. And it's like, yeah, you can go, oh well, maybe I can run for the fence and maybe we'll get away, but you don't know that.
Right.
I don't know if any of you guys have watched The Road. You guys watch The Road? This is the one thing where I think it was pretty much almost absolute. There's a scene in the movie, so spoiler if it's been out for a long time, but there's a scene where the dad and the son are up in this room, and they kind of are exploring this house, and they find out it's a whole bunch of cannibals, right? And the cannibals come back, and they're stuck in this house. And this is an area where later, if you get captured, I mean, you're screwed. You know what's going to happen. I mean, these kids are going to get raped, horrible, right? The dad only has one bullet. He literally has only one bullet left in his gun, and he puts it up to his son's head. And I was thinking oh, that's horrible, but I'm like, you can attempt to maybe escape, but what if that doesn't happen? You don't have 100% guarantee you could escape. That's pretty much guarantee your kid's gonna have the most horrible thing ever happen to him.
Shoot your kid, cut your wrists.
Exactly. Well, and I thought that was just so interesting and so depressing, but it's that is kind of more of a straight 100% chance. You have a 100% chance that something bad will happen, but you have a 50% chance you might escape and save it. So what do you do?
Right.
And I thought that was such a depressing but realistic choice.
But he didn't make that beforehand. It's not like I didn't watch.
It happened during several times in the movie, actually. A couple of scenarios, he told the kid what he was going to do.
Right, but he never got to the point where he just was like, I could open the door or I can shoot you. I don't know what I want to do. It was always the back burner.
Yeah, but
so it was never. It was never 100%. I got to make a decision now. Which one do I want to do?
He almost got to it though. I mean, a third option presented itself at the last minute, but he was
the third option that doesn't present itself. Oh.
Joel's house of cards comes tumbling down.
This is basically it right here. Ultra Grunt just said in the chat that I think Joel would do well in prison.
All right, so we're gonna shut 90 seconds with
what
Joel down.
What a happy way to end the podcast.
Joel, thank you for whatever that was.
Sorry, I guess I find that stuff enjoyable.
No, I do find it intriguing.
Brain teasers.
Try it again, but come back with some dilemmas that have more options or have shade to them. Don't do such black and white ones because that makes it easy.
Yeah, I mean, those are some of the most popular ones. I was listening on NPR. It's the most popular ones you can find.
Okay. To me, that didn't seem that difficult. Make some difficult ones.
It's not necessarily about making the choice, but understanding what is the difference between both of them. That's more the thing. It's not like, hey, I'll choose to chuck the fat guy in front of it, but it's the difference between if you pull a lever and the fat guy falls through a hole, like a trap door, what's the difference between you pushing him onto the tracks and you pulling or pressing a button that makes him fall through a trap door? What's the difference? Yeah. I think that was interesting.
All right, or what if you're 1,000 miles away and you're told if you push this button, a fat man will fall in front of the trolley?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so now it is time for comments of the week, where Dave and me this week, I also have one, reaches deep into the bowels of the internet and scrapes around with one of those little serving spoons they use for ice cream, to take a sample, and he takes a sample of the dung that has accumulated on the underside of his videos this week and scoops it up for everyone to take a little taste of that chocolate peanut butter goodness. So, Dave, what chocolatey peanut butter goodness do you have for us?
This is not my personal comment of the week, but it was a comment on a YouTube video, so it still is a YouTube comment, about the scientific facts about frame rates in games.
Okay.
Guys, who cares? It is a scientific fact that the human eye cannot tell the difference between 60 and 30 FPS. In fact, I'd argue that 60 FPS feels or looks worse. 60 FPS is too smooth. It's like petting a shark. The scales, frames...
Wait a minute, hold on. If he can't tell the difference, then
shh.
where does
No
that
logic. Feels, not reels, James.
It's like petting a shark. The scales, frames,
What the hell does that
Keep
mean?
going, keep
are
going.
too
Let's
smooth.
ride this one out.
The scales frames are too smooth, so it cuts your hand, eyes. Well, 30 FPS is nice and stable and gives you better immersion because the frames travel a longer distance, so the world looks bigger.
What? I've never met anyone who loves consoles who would honestly believe any of the garbage that you just read.
Guys,
That sounds like a big troll.
That sounds
honestly.
like a troll.
if the shark analogy didn't clear things up for you, I don't know what I can do to help you.
Well, it might have a little bit of a truth to it. I mean, imagine playing Half-Life. Can you wait for sarcasm? Can you not tell sarcasm?
All right, it out.
He's just ready to stomp down like, oh, my PC master race, put my hand down his throat. No, I'm just saying.
What?
Yeah, Jeremiah,
I think my wife just got home right when I said that.
Stop breathing down Joel's throat, Jeremiah.
Stop it. No. I was gonna say, dude, the first time we load up Half-Life 3, I mean, our eyes might explode. So I'm gonna buy it on the PS2 just in case,
like shark scales,
just for safety. Yeah. I need to be able to see those jagged edges, so I know, like, too scary.
What's
too real.
Okay, it's just a game. It's not.
It's just a game. It's not real.
Then you can work up to Xbox One, then PS4,
Yeah.
then a Steam box, and then a Master Race PC, and then you'll be like, oh, now I'm Gaben has shown me the light.
Dave, that's not how Half-Life 3 is gonna be revealed. They're gonna go to E3, and Gaben's just gonna be like, he presses a button, the whole thing opens up, and we've never been on Earth this whole time. It's like, welcome to Zen. You are now in Half-Life 3. It's like, what do you mean in? Like, we moved everyone. What the heck?
If anyone
This
has
is what
them
Joel
all,
dreams
good.
about at night.
Gabe's just like, oh, I think it's cute you guys call it Earth. I've always called it Steam. Welcome to my world.
You just play here. All right, and for our last comment of the week, a comment on my ALS Ice Bucket Challenge video. I was nominated by Manta701 to do a video. Username Lucifer for President says, I love you, man. Can you do it naked next time? No. One, no one wants to see that, I can promise you.
That guy
Two, why? Although we did have the problem, Joel, I guess tee a joke up. My shorts didn't even get wet because the water, when they poured it over me, it just got all absorbed on the way down. My shorts were totally dry.
It's probably like the heat from coming out of the atmosphere, all the water burnt up,
You're
evaporated.
forgetting the part, Jeremiah, that the guy you had helping you with the ice bucket challenge was not tall enough to pour it over your head, and you had to squat so he could dump the ice bucket over your head.
No joke. I was watching them thinking, how is this guy gonna get this guy even wet? I was just waiting for your ankles to be splash.
He was trying to stand on he was standing on an end table, but it kept rocking back and forth, so we were worried it wasn't going to be safe. So I told him I'd crouch. But it was 3 gallons. It wasn't an insubstantial amount of water, but I think that was pretty funny. So anyway, guys, that is the podcast night. Thank you everyone for coming out. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to those of you who support us on Patreon. As always, you can support us on Patreon, which helps buy better mics and stuff. I ordered a better mic this week, and we're waiting to hear back from a couple people on their mic upgrades. And it also pays for the Teamspeak server, which you should definitely go check out. Follow us on Twitter, Casual Shenanigans, Germ Gaming, Evil Viking, and write into the show at casualshenanigans@gmail.com. Thank you.
Please send your artwork.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
I like
more artwork.
Let's keep the artwork train going. And with that, Joel, what should everybody do?
Go slap a seal.
While staying casual.